Life takes its time in its own fashion. Emotions unfold like a super bloom in action. The universe hangs like a necklace from God, jewels suspended in the cosmos. And it makes me believe this is how we're meant to be, because we're just highly emotional people. And you don't need to hide. Sometimes it's hard to tell me how you feel. I never see you cry. All of the weight that you have carried around, feelings come up and you push them back down. I feel your pain, because I know life is hard, but you can let go of the pain in your heart, because we're just highly emotional people and you don't need to hide. It's so much easier to just lie till somebody takes their life. Emotions are part of our design.
About why you chose that song.
This is one of my favorite songs ever. That song feels to me like you're reaching out to connect emotionally, and I feel like I struggle with that a lot of times. Like where I fail to connect with people a lot of the time is when they're not digging
Deep enough.
Yes.
And because it's called Highly Emotional People.
Yes.
And would you identify as a highly emotional person?
I would. But I feel like a lot of people cover that up as much as possible, and that's where I struggled to connect.
You would rather see more people tap into their emotions, and you're experiencing sometimes that people are avoiding their emotions.
Yes.
Yeah. So, well, we can talk about that today. Why don't we go back to the beginning?
What I remember, right, was me and my mother lived in a little townhouse in Columbus for the first 5 years of my life. And it was just the two of us. I remember being bored a lot. I spent a lot of time with my adopted grandparents, who basically took my mother in as a teenager, and she was best friends with all of their kids. So when I was born, they became like, they babysat me every day. And then as I got older, it turned into like, I'm going to their house for the weekend. It turned into like, that was my family. And so I spent a lot of time with them. They were in Hope. So I spent a lot of time in Hope. But yeah, it was just the two of us. And so a lot of the attention and stuff that maybe my mother wasn't available to offer, I got from them.
So it really was kind of like raised by community.
Absolutely. Yeah. I got called annoying a lot as a kid. A lot.
And why do you think that is?
Because I wanted to be a part of things. I got FOMO really bad. I wanted to be a part of things. And that's driven my life for most of my life. I have been into all things, I don't even know how to say. I've been into all the girly things since I was born. Mm-hmm. I was always doing my hair, and anyone else who would let me touch their hair was just the best day ever. Like if someone was gonna let me braid their hair or let me paint their nails, it was just literally the best day ever. And I would dress up, and I would, yeah. I was always trying to do something. I was always trying to do somebody's hair or do their nails or do their makeup. Like as a child, it was all I wanted to do. I think that I always knew that I wanted to do something creative. I think I always knew that I wanted to do something in the beauty industry. I think I knew that from a very, very young age. And I think probably as I got to be like a teenager, I knew that it was gonna be possible. I feel like I was a very lonely child. Like, I was very lonely. There was not a lot that my mother was emotionally available to give me. So I think I spent a lot of time looking for that. And when I got into school, I would say my entire school career, I did not have friends. Not at all. I was one of the kids that would hide in the bathroom during lunch. I didn't even go get lunch first because that would mean I would have to walk into the lunchroom and then walk back out. I just beelined for somewhere else because I didn't even want to walk into the lunchroom and people see that I was looking around like I didn't know where to sit. Like, I didn't even want that to be witnessed that I didn't have a place to go. It would be embarrassing.
Yeah.
I got called shy a lot. I was not at all. But I was terrified.
Mm-hmm.
I don't even know I was not shy.
But you were lonely.
I was lonely. I'd say the only thing that got me any attention during that time in my life were the things I made.
What'd you make?
Well, at the time in high school, I was posting makeup videos on YouTube. That was my side hustle. That's what I was doing instead of doing my homework. I was like, listen, I gotta post this makeup tutorial. Can't do it. My homework's already done, I promise. I got big things to do, okay? Yeah.
And are those still online somewhere?
No.
Okay.
No.
You scrubbed the internet.
I did. The one time I would get, noticed in class was in art class. I had the best picture out of the class, and that was the only time I got attention was when or like I did my hair cool that day, or my nails cool that day, or it was always something like that. And I'd say even now. So we moved to Seymour right before middle school. So I spent all of middle school and high school in Seymour. So they were a little bit different. I would say in Columbus, I felt a little more invisible. There was a lot, there were just more people. And we switched schools, and it was always like different groups of people. Whereas when we moved to Seymour, they had all been going to school together since elementary school. It was the same group of kids and they all knew each other. And it felt like they had like an established community to where I never managed to get in there. I never managed to like break into whatever was going on. Middle school, I was on the basketball team. And then my freshman year of high school, I was on the swim team because I love to swim. I was in team sports my whole life. Like, I played softball for 8 years of my childhood. And then I did basketball for 3 or 4 years. And what sticks out to me about that time is I was never a part of the team.
So it wasn't like, oh, now these are like my best friends. We're going to all go to my birthday party, things like that. Yeah.
I was the one to be left out of the sleepovers.
Yeah.
So I went to church with my grandmother, as my mother did. With my great-grandmother. She's my great-grandmother. Right. But I call her my grandmother because she was there.
Yep.
And I remember having fun with the other kids there, but it was, I always felt like the bad influence in those situations. Talking like 5, 6, 7,
yeah.
I was the one saying like, we should go do this, or like we should go hide over, like I was causing trouble.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I was mischievous.
Wow. And now you have a snake tattoo.
Yeah.
Maybe it was like the serpent
Yeah.
in with Adam and Eve.
Yeah. I'm sure as a young child it could have been somewhat comforting. But I think it always felt more like there were expectations being put on me that I was not consenting to.
Yeah.
But also I grew up in an atheist household.
Right.
Which is actually pretty unique, I feel like. Like, I knew from a very young age how my mother felt about religion, and how she saw the world. I was very aware of the hypocrisy, from a very young age. I don't think that my mother and I saw each other, like understood and like saw each other until I moved out of the house.
And when was that?
That was the week before I turned 18, actually.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And
I had a boyfriend at the time, and I really wanted to live with my boyfriend. And so I saved up all of my money and I went and bought an apartment literally the week before I turned 18, and we got it all set up and everything, but my mom made it very clear I was sleeping in that house until I turned 18. So I came home the first night after we got it all set up and everything, and he was staying there, but I was like, I'm gonna go back home. I got a few days left. And I got home and they were like, you can go. They were like, we didn't think you were going to take that seriously. You can go back. I was already out of school.
Okay, so you graduated, yeah.
So actually, I did not graduate high school.
Oh, okay, keep going.
I dropped out between my junior and senior year and got my GED like the next week. And that was very freeing. I got to go work full time. I got to start cosmetology school. I felt like I was like ahead. I was like out living life and everyone was still going to school. It was pretty fun. I'm not sure if it was because I moved out or because that's when she happened to go on her journey. I don't know. I think it was a her change. I don't even think it was like a me being out of the house change. But some point in there, she had the bandwidth to meet me emotionally. She started showing up for me in ways that she hadn't before.
And how did that feel for you?
It felt so healing. I get really emotional when I talk about our relationship because I never knew it was possible. Like, I think a lot of the time growing up, I would think things like, oh, I wish I lived with my grandparents. Like, because that's where I was getting attention. So I always I always wished to be in a different situation. And I reached a point with my mother that she became the person that I always dreamed of as a parent.
Have you told her that?
I have. Yeah. Yeah, I couldn't imagine. She is now who I always needed. But we have that now. And I feel like we almost have this dynamic now where I get to be a child again. And I get to be a child in an environment where I'm cared for. So it almost feels like we did it over again. I started coming here just because I wanted to spend time with her. So when I moved to Greenwood, I was not seeing much of her. I can tell the story of how I got to Greenwood. It's crazy.
Great, do that one. So how'd you get to Greenwood?
Okay, so I lived in Carmel for a few years. I worked at Hooters for a little bit. And I also worked at Ulta as a hairstylist for a little bit. And then I decided it was time for community. So I came back home and I moved in with the adopted grandparents. I had been living on my own for a while, and I was like, I really want to feel like a part of a household. Like I was ready to feel cared for again. And so I moved in with them, and they were very happy to have me, and I was very happy to be there. And me and we'll say the grandmother, because I have unique names for them. We were two peas in a pod. We would sew and watch Netflix together and cook and bake together. And he was on the road most of the time. So it was just us two little old ladies just hanging out, and it was the best thing ever. And my Nana, she was always that person for me. Like I was safe with her. And I was seen and I was nurtured. Like she was always that person for me. And so being in that environment was very healing. And so that was in Columbus, and I started working at the Supercuts in Columbus while it was still around. And they were kind of in transition, and the manager was acting up, and the manager got let go, and I was like, I'm ready, put me in. And so I took over the manager position, and it went really, really well, and I was killing it. And the owner was very happy with me. Something happened. He went over me. He stepped over me in a situation that was inappropriate. Like he had went and hired back an employee behind my back without investigating why she left or any of what had actually happened, right? And this was not an employee that I wanted or needed back in my shop. And so I came home and I was really upset. I'm like, my owner, this and that, and he's asking me to do this job, but he's not trusting me to do the job. I was feeling disrespected. And so I came home and I was telling the grandparents this. He was home, and I was telling them this, and he went off on me, talking about who do I think I am, to who do I think I am to stand up to this man that, as he said, he owns me. Yeah, that's what he said. He said that man owns me, and who am I to make demands, right? And it's like it was a personal attack on this man's, like, on his manhood, that I would question another man in authority that he had never met in his life. And I think, yeah, that changed that dynamic really quick. That changed the dynamic at home really quick. I was like, oh, I'm not safe here. Oh no. He, in that moment, tried to put me in my place, which he's done that before. But this was big because I was an adult, and this was my life now. And I was not going to stay in my place. But that was also went completely against everything that they raised me to be. That man raised me to be strong and to say what I needed to say. And yeah, he taught me to be confident and to stand my ground and speak up for myself until it stopped aligning with what he thought. We had a couple more incidents where I made my own decisions, and that really rubbed him the wrong way. He blew up on me about how I was feeling about this situation with my boss. And I went and talked to my boss the next day, and I said exactly what I needed to say. I was like, no, I am going to deal with this. I am going to say what I need to say. And it went as well as it possibly could have gone. I think my boss had so much more respect for me after that day, where I was like, no, you hired me to do this. I need you to trust me on this. After we had that conversation where I was very blunt. I was not happy with him. I was not happy. Shortly after that conversation, he decided he wanted to move me to take over one of his other stores in Greenwood, and he paid for me to move. It was kind of like a promotion that came from that. I've been in Greenwood for maybe 2 years. I was managing the Supercuts. I was managing 2 locations actually, both for the same guy. And that was going really well, and I had my own place and I was thriving. But some of these issues started to come back up with, I was not feeling respected. I felt like I was not able to make the decisions that needed to be made. Like I didn't have the power to help the business, but I was still taking the fall for it. I would say I was in a pretty good spot while I was living in Greenwood. I had plenty of money, and I had my own apartment, and I had my 2 kitties, and I was working, and I was hanging out with my friends, and this was the first place that I made my home. Like, I painted, and my trinkets are everywhere, and every room is decorated exactly how I want it to be. And so that was awesome. This is the first place where I really felt at home and like I had made something. It was stability for the first time.
Meanwhile, you come down and visit your mom and family, and you have a sister, right? Or you want to talk about?
I do have a sister. My younger sister is 16. I was very, very excited when I found out that my parents were having a child. I was very, very excited because I was going to have a little sister, and we were going to be best friends, and we were going to do all kinds of awesome sisterly things together. And I remember this vivid picture that I had when I thought about me having a sister was that we were going to be like skipping down the sidewalk with an American Girl doll like between our hands, like her holding one hand of the American Girl doll and I would be holding the other, and we would be skipping down the sidewalk by my grandma's house. That is the vivid picture that came into my brain when I pictured what having a sister would be like. She was not that. Yeah, she was absolutely adorable and perfect. I loved her very much. I was obsessed with her as a child. She was the cutest, sweetest thing ever. And then as we got older, she was very independent. She wanted to do her own thing. She was not worried about what I was doing, which is not what I thought was going to happen. I'm like big sister. You're supposed to be like, I'm supposed to be getting irritated that you're, getting into my makeup and borrowing my clothes. And I'm like, here, take my makeup, take my clothes. And she's like, I'm okay. I'm good. And so I remember I wanted us to have this sister bond that I pictured. You know, I wanted us to be this very specific picture of what I had of what sisters are. And she wanted to do her own thing. She was perfectly happy being in a room by herself for majority of the time. She did not need anything from anybody, and that hurt me very deeply, and I took it very personal, and I was not very kind to her after that, because I felt betrayed that I was looking for a friend and I didn't get one, because I was very lonely. I was a lonely child. And so here she comes and I'm not supposed to be alone anymore. And I was still alone and I was pissed. Now we are cordial. I feel like we have a really good understanding of each other. I think she sees me and understands me, and I see and understand her. And I appreciate who she is as a human. We're still not close, but because of how I treated her growing up, I'm not a safe person for her. And that hurts. And I have tried to repair that relationship a little bit. And I'd say we're getting there. I want to go back to grandfather.
Okay, sure. Yeah, go back.
That was a huge, huge turning point. That was the first time that I was like, no, I'm going to speak my mind and I have every right to. I moved out. My Nana was very upset. That changed everything for me. Like, it changed literally everything. I felt powerful because then I went and said what I needed to say, and it opened doors. So that was when I stopped being afraid of what I needed to say, of saying what I needed to say. And I think that's the biggest journey that I've been on. I think every like good thing that has come to me in the past couple of years, even in conversations here in this community, is when I said what I needed to say. Yeah. And that was the first time I felt empowered to do so. So I do want to talk more about when I was in Carmel. I felt very alone when I was in Carmel too. I was living with my cousin, and she also did her own thing. And so I was like craving this like bond with her that I wasn't getting. And I was alone again. I ended up alone again. And I absolutely spiraled. I had a mental health crisis where I had made, I don't know how to explain other than I had made plans that I couldn't follow through with. And I did not know how to get out of them, and I panicked. And at this same time, what had happened was, oh my gosh. Okay, no, what had happened was, my cousin has a cat. My cousin has a cat. That is her baby, right? That is her person. Her person is her cat. Great cat. Just like a Maine Coon. Very, very beautiful. And one night I was drinking and hanging out with a friend in our apartment. And we woke up in the morning and the cat was not in the apartment. I absolutely panicked. My brain went to, I have ruined everything. my life is over. The cat's not, if this cat does not come back, my cousin is never going to speak to me again. She will hate me. My life is literally over. And it was panic to the point where I got paranoid of like someone was holding this cat for ransom, or my friend that was staying over had done something to the cat. Like, it full on, I was not here. I was losing my shit. And then for some reason, I thought that my friend had done something to the cat. For some reason. And then I was feeling super unsafe with my friend still being in my apartment. And I went into full, I could not calm down. I could not breathe. My life was over. I wasn't safe in my apartment. And I was calling my mom and I was crying, and they ended up taking me to the hospital because I was not okay. And it felt like nothing was going to be okay. And so I went to the hospital and I ended up being put in a treatment program for 6 weeks. I quit my job. And I would say while going through treatment, it felt like I was never going to be okay again. There was nothing in there. There was nothing in there. I felt like I literally, before that had happened, the job that I had was amazing. I was killing it. I had more money than I knew what to do with. I had free time. I was thriving before this happened. And then after, I didn't even recognize the person who was capable of doing those things. I didn't even recognize the person that was capable of going to work. Yeah. I didn't recognize the person that was capable of functioning for a while. And then one day I did, again. Yeah.
How did that happen?
I ran out of money and had to pay my rent. So I eventually went and started working at Hooters. And slowly I was like, I can do this. Yeah. I can get up and I can go to work and I can talk to my coworkers and have normal conversations and I can make friends, and I did. I was a normal person again. I'd say every now and then I would notice when I was slipping back into that, but I had words for it, and I knew what it was, so I was able to handle it a little bit better. I had like a good understanding of like, this is the headspace that I was in, and I have a name for it, and I have tools for it. And I do have...
Chris is proud of you right now. Keep going.
But I still slip into that every now and then. And I still have moments where I get overwhelmed and I don't recognize the person who was functioning.
Mm-hmm.
I don't. I had one recently where, well, I'd say even now, I'm working as a barber, and I'm doing great and I love it, I don't recognize the person who was managing 2 salons at one point. I don't know who was doing that. I don't feel like I could do that right now. I don't recognize that person.
And you don't need to right now, right?
Yeah. No. I'm okay with that.
So how are you choosing to love and prioritize yourself these days?
I think right now, for me, the most important thing has been community and my relationships. I think I moved away from, right, there were points in my life where I had the money and I had everything I wanted. And I'm almost at the place now where I'm like, I don't care. I just don't care. I see everyone around me talking about getting a better job and getting more money, and I'm like, I just couldn't care less. I don't need it. I don't want it. I'm moving back in with my parents right now. But I think I was at this point in my life, I am not prioritizing being successful. It's just not important to me right now. I think my biggest priority and the thing that is feeding me right now is my relationships. I think coming here was the first time that I saw, I don't know how to explain, this place is kind. And I sometimes come in dressed up and feeling great, and sometimes I come in my sweatpants hungover. And or sometimes I'm here in the middle of a crisis, you know? And everyone's just here and kind, and I can just be here and exist, and everything's okay. And I'll sit here with my mom and watch everyone at coffee hour. I'll sit and I'll watch just people's interactions with each other. I'm a very emotional person, so I can just see, you know, someone's very simple, you know, interaction with each other, and those two people seeing each other, and it makes me want to cry. Even when I'm literally in the middle of a crisis, I'll be sitting at the table, like, did you see how those two kids talk to each other? And then I'll just, you know, like, everything is okay. Everything is gonna be okay. This place reinforced for me that I did have something to say. Because I forget that, because I struggle. And so, yeah, so I joined the Sunday services team because I felt like I had something to say. And I feel like that was so well received. And I guess that's kind of what I'm working towards again in my life, right? We're circling back to, I have something to say. Yeah. And I feel empowered again.